My controlling fiancé invited my sister, whom I had no contact for past 10 years ago, to our wedding and told me to make amends with her. So I walked out of the wedding and cancelled everything. I, 32F, never thought I'd be the kind of person to leave someone at the altar. But then again, I never thought I'd be engaged to someone who would try to manipulate me into reconciling with my estranged sister on my wedding day. Life has a way of surprising you, I guess. It all started 3 months ago when my fiancé, 34M, and I were finalizing our wedding guest list. We were sitting at our kitchen table, surrounded by a sea of paper and half-empty coffee mugs, when he casually dropped a bomb that would ultimately destroy our relationship. "So, I've been thinking," he said, not looking up from the guest list. "Maybe we should invite your sister to the wedding." I froze, my pen hovering over the seating chart I'd been working on. "My sister?" I repeated, sure I must have misheard him. "You mean the sister I haven't spoken to in 10 years? That sister?" He nodded, finally meeting my eyes. "I think it's time you two made amends. A wedding is the perfect opportunity for family reconciliation, don't you think?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My sister and I hadn't spoken since I was 22, and for good reason. She had betrayed me in the worst possible way, sleeping with my then boyfriend, and lying about it for months. When I finally discovered the truth, she had the audacity to blame me, saying I had driven them together with my neediness. The hurt and betrayal I felt that day had never fully healed. "No," I said firmly. "Absolutely not. You know why I don't speak to her. She's not welcome at our wedding. End of discussion." But it wasn't the end of the discussion. Over the next few weeks, my fiancé brought up the subject of my sister repeatedly. He talked about forgiveness, about the importance of family, about how I would regret not having her there on our special day. Each time, I shut down the conversation, growing more and more frustrated with his insistence. Looking back, I should have seen the red flags. My fiancé had always been a bit controlling, always thinking he knew what was best for me. But I'd chalked it up to him being caring and protective. Now I was starting to see it for what it really was, a need to control every aspect of my life, including my relationships with my family. As the wedding day approached, the tension between us grew. We argued more frequently, often about trivial things. I found myself second-guessing every decision, wondering if I was really ready to commit to a lifetime with someone who couldn't respect my boundaries. Then, a week before the wedding, I discovered something that made my blood run cold. I was using his laptop to check our honeymoon reservations when a Facebook message popped up. It was from my sister. With shaking hands, I clicked on the message. What I read made me feel sick to my stomach. My fiancé had been in contact with my sister for months, planning to surprise me by having her show up at the wedding. He had shared details about our relationship, about my life, with someone I had cut out of my life a decade ago. I confronted him that evening, my voice shaking with anger and betrayal. "How could you do this?" I demanded. "How could you go behind my back like this?" He had the audacity to look offended. "I'm doing this for you," he insisted. "You need to mend things with your sister. I'm just giving you the push you need." "A push I need?" I repeated incredulously. "Who are you to decide what I need? This is my life, my family, my decision." But he wouldn't back down. He insisted that he knew what was best for me, that I would thank him once I saw my sister at the wedding. It was like talking to a brick wall. No matter what I said, he couldn't seem to understand why I was so upset. That night, I slept in the spare room, my mind racing. I thought about all the times my fiancé had made decisions for me, all the times he had pushed me to do things I wasn't comfortable with. I thought about how he always seemed to think he knew better than me, even about my own feelings and experiences. As dawn broke, I made a decision. I couldn't marry this man. I couldn't commit to a lifetime with someone who had so little respect for my wishes and boundaries. The next morning, I told him I needed some time alone to think. He agreed, probably assuming I just needed to calm down. As soon as he left for work, I sprang into action. I called my best friend, explaining the situation through tears. She arrived within the hour, ready to help me pack my things. As we boxed up my life, I made the necessary phone calls to the venue, the caterers, the florist. I cancelled everything. My hands shook as I dialed my parents' number. They had always liked my fiancé, always thought he was such a nice young man. I dreaded having to explain why I was calling off the wedding just days before it was supposed to happen. To my surprise, they were supportive. "Honey," my mom said, her voice gentle, "if you're not happy, then you're making the right decision. We're here for you, no matter what." Their understanding brought fresh tears to my eyes. For the first time since this whole mess started, I felt like I could breathe again. By the time my fiancé returned home that evening, half of my things were gone. He found me in the living room, surrounded by boxes, my engagement ring sitting on the coffee table. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice a mix of confusion and anger. I took a deep breath. "I'm leaving," I said, proud of how steady my voice sounded. "The wedding is off." What followed was one of the most difficult conversations of my life. He alternated between anger and pleading, accusing me of overreacting one minute and begging me to reconsider the next. But I stood my ground. "You betrayed my trust," I told him. "You went behind my back to contact someone I explicitly told you I didn't want in my life. You decided you knew better than me about my own family, my own feelings. I can't marry someone who doesn't respect me enough to accept my decisions." "I was just trying to help," he protested. "I thought if I could get you two in the same room, you'd work things out." "But that wasn't your decision to make," I countered. "You don't get to decide when or if I'm ready to forgive my sister. That's my choice, and you took it away from me." In the end, he left the apartment in a fury, slamming the door behind him. I sank onto the couch, emotionally drained but feeling lighter than I had in months. The next few days were a whirlwind. I moved in with my best friend temporarily, ignoring the barrage of calls and texts from my ex-fiancé. I had to deal with the fallout of canceling a wedding on such short notice, apologizing to guests, returning gifts, dealing with non-refundable deposits. It was stressful and emotionally taxing, but I knew I had made the right decision. A week after I left, I received a letter from my sister. Apparently, my ex-fiancé had told her that I had changed my mind and wanted her at the wedding. She had been planning to surprise me, thinking it was what I wanted. Reading her words, I felt a complex mix of emotions. Anger at my ex for his manipulation, sadness at the reminder of what I had lost when my relationship with my sister fell apart, and a tiny, unexpected flicker of something. Not forgiveness, not yet, but perhaps the first step towards it. I wrote back to her, explaining what had really happened. I told her that while I wasn't ready to reconcile, I appreciated her respecting my wishes once she knew the truth. It was a small step, but it felt significant. As the dust settled and life began to return to a new normal, I found myself reflecting on the experience. Yes, it had been painful and difficult, but it had also taught me valuable lessons about standing up for myself, about the importance of boundaries, and about what I really wanted in a partner. I realized that for too long I had allowed my ex-fiancé to make decisions for me, to push me in directions I wasn't comfortable with. I had mistaken his controlling behavior for care, his disregard for my feelings as him knowing what was best for me. Never again, I vowed. From now on, I would trust my own instincts, stand firm in my decisions, and demand respect from my partners. 3 months after my almost wedding day, I received an unexpected message. It was from one of my ex-fiancé's cousins, someone I'd become close to during our relationship. "I know this might be weird," she wrote, "but I wanted you to know that I think you did the right thing. What he did wasn't okay, and I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself." Her words brought tears to my eyes. In the chaos of everything that had happened, I had sometimes doubted myself, wondered if I had overreacted. But her message reaffirmed what I knew in my heart. I had made the right choice. Today, as I sit here writing this, I feel stronger than I ever have. Yes, I'm single again at 32, starting over when I thought I'd be starting my married life. But I'm also wiser, more self-assured, and more in tune with what I really want and need in a relationship. To anyone out there who might be in a similar situation, wondering if they should stay with someone who doesn't respect their boundaries, I want to say this: you deserve better. You deserve someone who will stand by your decisions, who will support you even when they don't agree with you. Don't settle for less. As for me, I'm taking time to focus on myself. I'm rediscovering old hobbies, making new friends, and learning to enjoy my own company. And who knows, maybe one day I'll be ready to dip my toes back into the dating pool. But this time, I'll be looking for a true partner, someone who respects me, supports me, and loves me for who I am, not who they think I should be. And my sister? Well, that's a work in progress. We're not close, and I don't know if we ever will be again. But for the first time in a decade, I'm open to the possibility of rebuilding that relationship, on my terms in my own time. And that, I've realized, is what true healing looks like.